Right, this is Irina Shea, and this is part of our Wealth and Wisdom video series. Today, we're going to talk about what if one of my children is bad with money in the context of estate planning. So, I am going to share my screen with some thoughts. Okay, so if you have adult children, we know they are all different, but by the time they're adults, you can tell pretty well what they're good and not so good at. And a fair number of people are not great with money, and in fact are money phobic and avoid it, or actively overspend. They're called spendthrifts, or they're married to someone like that. So it could be one of the outlaws, as we call them, right? A daughter-in-law or a son-in-law who would spend that inheritance unwisely, let's say, your hard-earned money. So what do we do? Okay. First of all, rather, if they are bad with money, right, rather than leave inheritance outright, consider a trust. Okay, what does the trust do? The trust manages the inheritance with a trustee, who manages the money and the distributions. Okay, and that trustee could be a bank. Right? So it could be Vanguard, Fidelity, Schwab. It could be your local bank and trust company, your regional. It could be a niece, nephew, uncle, a family member who's good with money, who's going to oversee as a trustee that child's share. That's often a great use case for a trust if the child is genuinely bad with money. Another thing, if that child is bad with money, do not name them as your power of attorney. This sort of seems to go without saying, but sometimes people just default to the birth order. But if the oldest child is just terrible with money and has creditor issues, that's the last person you want to put in charge of your bill pay, your legal and financial affairs. If you were incapacitated, it is simply not a good fit. I would also caution they are probably not great as an executor trustee. Okay. Um, it is just, these jobs have just too much responsibility attached to them. Timeliness is important. Prudent management of another person's assets is critical. So we're going to avoid them for those roles. Okay. Um, these are not terrific options, but if you really don't care for a trust or the amount of money is just not big enough for a trust, say it's a smaller amount, 500,000, I don't know, or no trustee available, consider intro to your financial advisor. So if you've been working with a financial advisor, which many of our clients have, whether it's an RIA or a larger firm, um, consider introducing your child to your financial advisor sooner than later so that there is a bridge. Create a bridge. So although that child who's bad with money is going to inherit outright, if that ends up being your decision, at least they will have professional guidance available to them. And that financial advisor will be coaching them and guiding them and sort of informally managing the process. So that's kind of a light version of handling things. No guarantees with it, of course, but maybe under the circumstances that turns out to be the better option. Similarly, if it's IRA cash flows, so the child isn't inheriting one large chunk of money, they're inheriting IRA cash flows over 10 years. Um, again, connecting them with that financial advisor on the IRA might make the most sense because they'll assist with the rollover and the RMDs and what do you do? What do you invest? How do you invest the net proceeds after income tax? A CFP is a certified financial planner trained in exactly these issues, right? So financial education and connecting the dots beforehand might be the answer. So hopefully this has been helpful. If you'd like to learn more, you can go to our website at irinashea.com, click on the Get Started tab, and there is no charge for our initial consultations.